Alright, thank you very much, guys. So we're going to take some questions now from the audience. So I'm not going to go in the crowd with microphones, it's going to be a mess. So if you have a question, please stand up and speak very loud, okay? So any question? Yeah, Marcus? Please stand up. Yeah, good guy.
Hey guys, I have a question about the team management and how you handle transparency with the team. In the traditional model that is being preached, normally you give employees information based on a need-to-know basis. But in the recent and the newer models, you have more of a full transparency across the team. In some companies, it is not being preached, but not really executed correctly or fully. And management keeps the bad news rather to itself than to share it with all the employees. In some other studies, you saw that actually employees who know everything about the company, they feel much more empowered and much more happy to invest their time into the company, even if it's not very good. So I would like to know how you handle that.
First of all, there can never be 100% transparency. Okay, you can't have the guy, working next to another guy and then really knowing what they're getting paid, for example. So there's always going to be some information that you just cannot make public to everybody. I think if your if you're having problems, your staff know. You don't even need to say. Okay, they're going to know. They're going to feel, what's going on. So. Yeah, that's...
Do you have anything to answer?
I think, as I said, with project-based stuff, if you can be as transparent as possible, I think it's good for maybe the team to know, okay, this job is a really high-paying one. This is this has priority for this reason. I mean, you can share as much. I don't think it has to be need to know. I don't think we're very flat, and so I think. The information that is known is probably known by most people, but I think as much as you can share, if there's any benefit to that, then do it. I think obviously, as Jan says, there's only a few things where really that is confidential. But I think the more information you can give, if it's going to be beneficial, then of course share it.
Okay. Anyone else want to answer? Yeah.
Well, honesty is sort of a core tenet of the company anyway, so borrowing on the exception of salary, yes, even we've actually thought about the idea of going, well, why not, actually, what would be the difference, but then again, we sort of thought again, well, maybe not, but everything else is pretty transparent in our company, so the whole company idea about being honest permeates throughout everything else, with the exception of salary, so how much the project's worth, how many hours goes in, the expenses that we pay as a company, they know our rent, that kind of thing. I mean, they are very much an integral part of our company. So if we want them to work really hard for us, they've got to know how well or not well we're doing and help push the company forward. So as far as transparency goes, it's if they ask, we'll tell them. If it's on the table, they can read it, that kind of thing. So just be honest, and then they'll respect you for it.
Derek, want to add something?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much the same. We're not transparent about our kind of bottom line financials. I'm not sure how much impact that would have for people. We've gotten to sort of a size where people can matter to it. But generally how we're doing, certainly every month we review our net new ads, our client acquisitions, new deals we've got going, why a new program might be important. We track net promoter scores, what's our net promoter score, and how are we doing in customer satisfaction. Those kind of things we share, really. So really, other than salaries and kind of bottom line, and pretty much up front.
Okay. If I may add, my main point was basically, what about the bad news? What about you just lost the time, or the investor just jumped off that you're looking forward to? Information like that. Salaries are not being shared, it is debatable. Since most employees will find out anyway, people talk. But the question is what about the bad news? How do you share that?
For us, clients cancel, we have lots of clients and there's a natural attrition. Every client who cancels fills out a form. That form goes to a group of people, of leaders, and we all talk about what we learned from that cancellation. It might be they had financial problems and there's nothing to do, but things like that, we've definitely built in that sort of transparency that every client enhancement gets discussed.
Not to answer. I guess.
Okay, just quickly, and all we do is in our company every Friday we have a team meeting, and we just basically lay down the line. We say, this is the project going on, these are the new business coming in, this is things going on with staff, and usually during the project or new business we'll just be very sort of transparent with the client, saying, okay, we didn't get these guys because X, Y, Z, you know, and just be very clear with it, because the whole thing about the whole team is that they get to know what's going on in the company, so they're just aware and not just blindsided by something that might come up. So again, we tell them, but we have to maybe set times, or maybe during the scrum meetings we might say, hey, the client's not really happy about X, Y, Z. This is why, let's do something about it, that kind of thing. That's my company, so.
Okay, let's get the next question. Okay, please stand up and speak very loud.
I'm starting a new dev agency or design agency. What would be the tactics you would suggest to find new clients? And like, what did you try, or what would you like to try to get your first few clients and maybe continue having new clients?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Okay, who wants to answer?
So are you looking for local or?
It was a hypothesis, but local.
So I think generally agencies are quite a good place to start. I mean, obviously they will probably already have a preferred partner, but if you're coming with something different, whether it's that you're an ideas person and you can help them with the creative, or I mean, if you've got some kind of differentiation, I think agencies are not necessarily, you know, say you're talking about apps, they're not necessarily kind of that clued up on mobile. So if they have you know, a kind of a digital campaign of which an app or mobile is part of it, maybe, you know, they don't have that real understanding. So we kind of went in and said, look, we can come and, you know, go in and pitch clients with you. We can be kind of your mobile expert.
How do you tell you can be the mobile expert when you don't have a portfolio? Because if it's starting, how can you start at all?
So if you're coming from a position of, you know, whether it's knowledge or whatever, then you can at least convince them of that. If not, then I would say, you know, go to, you know, whether it's your home country, and, you know, you've got the cost advantage there, so you can, if you can either find some freelancers or your current developers' past work, and you can at least say, these are examples of work that my developers have worked on. You know, still be transparent, don't say, our company built this, but you can still give the client an example of something that the developer has worked on. So I would say that that's maybe one way to avoid, you know, that position.
Okay, anyone else want to answer?
I would say one thing to do is follow the money. So, you know, quite a large percentage of our work comes from the relationships we've got with VCs and accelerators. So 500 startups and Techstars, we're on the approved list for Techstars. And they do all the marketing for us, you know, they're out there giving money to guys to build their startups. These guys often don't have developers, or they're in the process of trying to find a technical co-founder and they need somebody to get stuff going. You know, to like an MVP stage, basically. And that's the sort of stuff we like, you know, it's like short projects. The guys are obviously looking for their own technical co-founder or developers internally, and then as soon as they've got that person, we kind of just, you know, hand it over to them, and we slowly pull out. So, but yeah, we let them do the sales for us, the VCs and accelerators.
Okay, it's fine. Let's take the next question. Yeah, please stand up.
Alright, I think one of the questions that a lot of us want to ask is how do you find talents here in Bangkok? Because right now the startup industry over here is kind of sort of booming, a lot of startups, a lot of new companies are hiring, and talent is really hard to find, especially those who are specialized in technologies such as Ruby on Rails or Python or these kind of things. So what are your goals? What are the ways you find it?
This is an interesting. I was waiting for someone to ask this because I would talk all day long about how to find customers, but how to hire good people in Bangkok is something that everybody here, I'm sure, will not want to talk about. it's a huge problem. It's the number one problem we have, finding good people. Particularly, I mean, we're a Rails development company. We've pretty much exhausted every good Rails guy here now. I'm sure, you know, between us we all have in our respective fields. So we've actually got to the point now where we're just looking for good raw talent. We're looking for guys that are passionate about technology. We don't care if they're not Rails programmers. We bring them in, we train them. It's really, really hard. In actual fact, just
how long does it take to train them on average?
Good guys can be as little as like 2 or 3 months. I mean, really, you know, if they're really, really switched on guys, it can be very quick. And that's obviously what we try and, you know, pick. And because of the peer code review that we do, they learn quickly from other people. Actually, interestingly, just today in the Bangkok Post, there was an article about the shortage of IT skills in Thailand, actually. And I guess to some extent the problem is that the universities are teaching the wrong stuff in the wrong way. You know, people like Chula, those kind of guys, there's some good guys coming out of there. Some of the other universities, they're still teaching, you know, really old technology to students, and they're teaching it in a way that they're not learning it, they're just remembering it. And it's a big problem for us, for sure.
From a technical development side, it's a challenge for us too. I think one of our smartest first hire was somebody who is deeply embedded in the development community. She teaches lectures, agile. We have development events. Groups can use our offices. So really, that community thing of people knowing you, getting a reputation, wanting to work for you, is really, really important on development talent. For our non-development talent, we tend to hire really young. I mean, it's so much easier with just kind of core business, marketing, customer service sorts of skills. I would just rather take somebody green and just bring them into the program. We have good peer training, put them on a good team, and they learn fast.
I think the other place is the kind of hackathons, the startup weekends, these type of events. I mean, there's the people that, that's where our first hire came from. The people that go to these type of events are kind of self-motivated. They probably had a lot of these other evening network events, and so they have big networks themselves. And so pretty much, with a few examples, most of our people have come through an introduction from one of our other developers. So just by making it a great place to work, trying to find those first few people at those type of events, and then just try to even reward your developers, give them whatever it is, but an incentive to try and encourage their talented friends to come and work for you.
I'll add one other thing. We have an active internship program. I think we're on the development team into about our 6th intern this year, some for several months at a time, which is both, we hope, future talent that will come back, but I think it's also part of a responsibility we all have to be building this community and depth of talent. So that's something we're going to keep investing in. We just have internship programs all the time on our dev team.
Okay. You want to add something, Andrew?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. So some of the things that we've tried is try and be a little different with our job advertising. So we've actually tried to be, if you notice a lot of the job adverts, it's very stale. It's just skills, responsibilities, that kind of thing. So we've now sort of changed up our adverts to be a bit more about the company. What are they going to be doing? What are we like to work with? And sort of explain that in bullet points, very short, because I think some of the Thai stuff when they start reading a lot, it's just a sea of English text, and they'll just go away. So we try and put things into bullet points just to help break things down for them. Another way to hit this recruitment problem that we have is I've gone down the route of hiring a dedicated recruiter into the team so that they can focus on reaching out, probably attending some events, actually going out to the universities to pick them fresh, because again, the more seasoned developers are either already got jobs or they're working on their own startup lately, all because of this place, thanks. But it's kind of good because some people might be interested in working with your company as well, so who knows. But yeah, I think the next tactic, apart from just making a more interesting job advert, is to tackle on students and go straight to the universities. A a lot of the staff, we've tried to approach them and say, look, you've got any friends, you know, and they give me blank stares because it's quite funny. Even though they're devs, there's not a lot of many of their friends are actually devs. So I'm not really sure why that is, but they said, well, why don't you go to universities and then, you know, go to their, you know, their peers or the lower sort of years, and then pick them off fresh, and then just they would just be really, really interested if the company went in and presented and say, look, this is what we do, here, you know, work out an internship, that kind of thing, and that would really interest them. And then you can go in and sort of filter out the people that have this kind of very pure abilities to do stuff. They don't know a whole lot, like what Jan said initially, because they're learning the wrong stuff or doing it the wrong way, that kind of thing. But if you can find, sort of, if you can interview them or talk to them and find out what they're like, you can pretty much be able to get someone, I think, right out of university, even before they graduate, and then throw them into the company and then as an intern and say, oh, here, welcome to some real stuff. And we kind of did that with one student who was really smart, was working on a second master's degree, but we were very fortunate to find her. And she worked on one of our product ideas. And she didn't have a lot of experience, but she was really smart and just very switched on, and that just opened my eyes basically to the potential out there.
Yeah, be careful, she's going to studio business maybe. Alright, almost 9, so we're going to take 2 more questions, okay? Please stand up.
Examples, how do you handle those things in terms of like how do you decide when to fire somebody, and maybe also a little bit contractual, how do you handle probation time? Because like not everybody who hire will be great at the beginning.
Who wants to start?
I've never actually had to fire someone after probation. Does that count? Well, basically, the whole probation period is when you hire somebody, you're never really sure at the beginning anyway how good they're going to be, and that's the whole point. So we tell people they have 90 days. By Thai law, they have 119 before they officially become protected by the labor law. So within that time frame, what we do is that we basically have a one-to-one, well, actually with every staff, even full-time employees, every single month and catch up with them and tell them how they're doing or how well they're not doing, and then constantly feed that back to them. So with a recent case, you know, things weren't going too well, and this person was quite good at what they were doing up to a certain point, but didn't quite hit our expectations. So we were just very frank in the one-to-ones and saying, look, you know, if we don't hit these sort of targets that we want, you know, it's going to be very hard to work here because this is the kind of person that we want. And you know, it ends up with a very amicable party, you know, and we'll try and support them as much as we can, that kind of thing. But sometimes it does have to happen, and you have to let people go.
Yeah. Anyone, do you want to answer?
I mean, once people are past the probation period, I'm not a big believer in people who aren't performing somehow go into some other probation period. I think if you've made a hiring mistake, you need to cut your losses and take care of them and let them go as quick as possible. So I'm pretty tough about that. We hire well, we don't have to do it very often, but you know, you can fool yourself for a long time. Oh, maybe they'll get better. I'll have a hard talk with them. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And you're doing them a favor to let them go off and find something they can be better successful at.
Again, we'd be kind of lucky that we haven't actually had to sack anyone. However, I've run a company before where I did have to sack people. I think the one thing I'd say is that people know they're going to be sacked before you sack them. Okay, they know that they're not doing well, and they're kind of expecting it. Actually, one thing in Thailand we do find is a bit of a problem with, we've been hit with a couple of times with this now, is that Thai families exert a huge amount of power over their children compared with the Western world. We had a developer recently who left because his family, who run a tourism company in Krabi, and they were having problems with the business, have decided that the way to solve the problem of their business is take all their children from their well-paying jobs, bring them to Krabi to work in a guest house. Madness, but this is what happens. So this poor guy who was really enjoying working with us and really building his career as a Rails programmer has now been ripped out of that into some tourism-related job. And
it's okay. Do you guys want to say something else? No? Yeah. Okay, all right. We're going to take the next question. And the last one. If there's one. Okay, Bart, please.
About salary, because you mentioned the talent.
Okay, can you come closer so people can hear you in the back as well?
Just a question about salaries. I don't want to ask how much you pay your people, but how do you define a good salary? And would you say that as an agency you pay better or same as the industry?
How do you define a good salary? How do you mean?
No, I mean, how do you decide that this guy needs to get this salary to come? How do you motivate him?
Right, okay. I mean, you know, with a smallish size company, when we've got 22 guys, you know the good guys from the bad guys. Well, they're not bad guys. The good guys from the great guys. And we pay them accordingly. My gut feeling, I know, who is helping who the most, that kind of thing, who's struggling, and I pay them accordingly. Just, I guess, like any other business. In terms of wages, we do, because we're doing a lot of work outside Thailand, we can pay a lot higher than local companies for developers. And often we get resumes from good developers who are being paid unbelievable wages here. I guess now things are definitely changing. We're a bit of a victim of our own success now because of places like this and all the startup scene. Now what's happening is these developers are becoming a really rare commodity, and obviously the wages are going to be going up and up and up. And I've heard of some developers at the moment getting paid, 150 to 200,000 baht. So.
I think you can take an educated guess what kind of salary someone might be on when you obviously look at what company they're working at beforehand. I think we have maybe a typical quality level and age where most of the developers we're hiring tend to fall in. So they are coming from a similar kind of salary. Most people we hire who've come from some of the bigger companies, for example, like a GMM or some of these type companies actually pay quite low. So we find we can make an offer which is quite a step up. Also, sometimes we've made hires from companies like Reuters and DST, and we already know that they're going to be on pretty high salaries. So we kind of try and make an offer that we think is going to be an improvement on what they're getting now, but obviously paying them what we think they're worth. In some occasions, maybe they come back and say, actually, here's my current pay slip, it's higher than that, and it gives us a chance to reconsider. But generally, I think the kind of average wage that we're offering is high enough to be a pay increase for most people.
Let's see. I guess from experience from the previous company I used to work for vendor software in Thailand, so I kind of saw sort of quite a high salary base for Thai people in terms of developers. So when I compared that to the resumes I was getting from developers that are coming in from Thai companies, I saw low as 15,000. I mean, Jesus, what can you do with that? I mean, you can live on that, but very, very just about. So what we've done is that we've got a salary ladder in place that is quite loose. So we tend not to go, if someone's really low paid but very talented, we don't tend to throw a crap load of money at them. But we'll sort of ease them in so that they're not shocked, which is, it's going to be a pleasant shock. But two, so that they get a realistic expectation of what they could be earning, because again, Reuters, And DST, I mean, they've got developers, especially I think the leads will be on 60, 70,000, which is quite a lot of money for Thai devs. I mean, shooting up to what, 100? I haven't really. I've seen one guy applying as a DevOps that will ask for about 150k, and that's just a bit too much for us. You know, if I was going to be sort of quite honest about it, our average salary, I guess, is about 40k, and that's about probably around the beginning end of more Western companies out here, but on the top tier for Thai companies. So we're sort of in between. And so that's about how we can stay sort of competitive, and then slip in side benefits such as, you know, we pay out a company bonus every 6 months, and the way that we've done it is that we take 25% of the company profits and then split it off evenly to everybody. We haven't quite worked our way out to do sort of performance-based sort of bonuses, because it's quite subjective. You know, my word against the other partner. And then, you know, you're good, but he says you're not so good, so we're not going to give you a bonus or give you less. And that's a bit unfair. So better to give everyone, you know, an even cut right now, and then work out. And the good thing about that is it's just untapped. I mean, 25% profit of the company can just keep going up if we get even more successful. So, you know, there are nice goals in place for our staff.
Want to add something? You are a lot of people, so.
I think the market sets the price in a lot of ways. If you're not closing deals on the people you want, you have to adjust to it. And I think for the most part, you know, the market sets a price for people, and you need to be tuned into that. And I expect that we're at the upper end of the market, which is where I want to get the best people. But I don't think I want to overpay in the market either.
I think if I just add some of the bigger companies like Royce's and DSTs and even vendors to some point, they kind of overinflate the salary market for smaller companies, which makes it really difficult to hire some people who could be just as good. Or sometimes you have people who have overinflated expectations of what they can earn, but they're actually not that good, but they earn way above, you know, what they should be earning, that kind of thing. And then what happens is that they get stuck at that level, they can't come down. So they either have to stay at that company, or they have to take a massive pay cut in order to work somewhere else to push up their knowledge level. That's something to think about.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, guys. I think we can give them a big round of applause. So thank you very much for all coming tonight. There was really a lot of people tonight, so thank you. On the 24th, I'm going to do a networking event called the BRD at Aloft. So it's in Sukhumvit 11. So anyone is free to come. They have a very beautiful swimming pool, discount on drinks, so you can come and join, and we can, like I said, discuss about maybe a business idea if you want or not. It's up to you, but just come and have a good time with us, okay? So thank you very much. We're going to have networking now for the last 30 minutes, and anyone who wants to come, have a drink with us and go to it, you're free to come with us. Thank you very much. Good night.